Hello,
narrating?
everyone, and welcome back. We are live this week with chapters 11 and 12. We have our amazing cast. Thank you guys for being patient and waiting. Crazy stuff happened this morning to some of our casts, so we appreciate you waiting up. Without further ado, say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Their audio works.
Hello, everybody.
Fantastic. All right, we're gonna introduce ourselves, starting off with Al, number one Stan.
Hello, I am Al number one Stan. People here call me Al, which is quite bizarre, but hello, I am glad to be here again.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Do you have something you would rather us call you than Al?
Oh no, I
Stan?
think it's funny. Stan.
I mean, it comes from just a guy named Stan in an Eminem
Maybe
song.
it's fine. Maybe it's fine.
You're just getting used to a nickname that's not your name.
Yeah.
Canon now.
Exactly.
Canon.
I'm Connor Palizard. I'm one of the hosts of your Zero podcast, the voice of Julius, temporary voice of Rom, and voice of your ground dragons and monsters while Drad is away.
Hi.
Oh, right.
Your turn, Greenie.
Yeah, I'm Greenie, Green Warrior 291. I am one of the editors for Studio Reverie, and I'm here to help out
Yay.
however I can.
And provide your valuable input. We love our discussions between chapters too. It's what makes these the cool part.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I am a very sleepy common today, and I am the voice of your lovely Melee, as well as the Gluttonies later on, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yay. I'm Kyle's McGiles. I'm your Amelia, as always. I also run this joint. I'm going to be covering for Allie today as Anastasia Rinna. And we also have another character I'll be covering for that makes her little appearance today.
Shadowy figure number 1.
No way.
Shadow?
Gasp.
The Hedgehog.
We figures.
Yeah, pulls up with
hello.
Shadow the Hedgehog's voice.
Hi everybody, I am Tealdi. I will be narrating, and I am the stand-in voice for Beatrice.
Yay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Wolf. I'm one of the co-hosts of the ReZero podcast, and I am also the voice of Subaru.
Pachi Pachi.
Hooray!
Hooray! Some of you may have noticed we actually didn't post yesterday for the ReZero podcast. I apologize. Work this week got kind of crazy. So right after stream, I'm going to edit one up and it'll be live immediately. And then we'll have another one for Monday. As always, we're almost caught up. The boys just finished recording for Arc 9 Phase 1. And we are at Arc 8 Phase, 4 now
Ooh.
on the uploads?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We also have an
He's
Arc
stuck on
6
phase
podcast.
1.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on.
That's
phase one.
fun. That's funny.
They're stuck for a week on that.
I'm so sorry.
We have an Arc
I'm
6
so sorry for your
podcast
loss.
coming up. And I hope you guys enjoyed our April Fool's Happy Birthday Subaru podcast from this week.
Yeah, let us know if you agreed with those lists or not. And if you still want us to post our personal ones that we have. We never really got the chance or a place
my
to put
gosh.
them.
Yeah, sorry. I should make a thing. I'll do that. And I'll post the actual links to the tier list.
Yeah, and you all can make your own.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was enjoyable. And hopefully this one's going to be too.
Yes.
Gold, Wolf, and I worked really hard on these 2 chapters. Because unfortunately, like Witch Cult, we still love you, and like Arc 7 and Arc 8 and Arc 9 are all beautifully written. Arc 6 is a lot of chapters that are just full stop written and mentioned as low quality translations, and we're hitting those now. So chapter 11 and 12, especially 11, because that one I don't think was proofread by Fanta either, and 12 definitely was, comparing the Witch Cult to the EPUB version. 11 wasn't. I changed every single line in chapter 11. I had to retranslate it from scratch like I used to do for Arc 2.
Oh, fuck.
So this one is kind of my baby. It's the longest thing I've ever translated, and I think it's one of my best too. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yay!
More or less
Hope
good
you all
practice.
enjoy.
I think we will. Even the chapter name is different.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. What? Yeah,
It's great. It's a good chapter.
rewritten.
Yeah, Zareth rewritten.
Yeah.
Da 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 da.
Crazy. One other
Instead
thing.
of the auto-tearing voice or whatever.
Yeah. One other thing to mention, we are starting to do our Arc 6 reads. We're so far so good. I've been like whipping Connor, Gold, and Wolf to keep up with the chapters, but we are going Saturdays at noon EST. With a little, caveat if we need a bit more time. And then Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST. This is our first week of doing that, and it went pretty okay. If we're going to keep up doing about 4 chapters a week, so 2 on each, and we're going to see how it goes. But as a heads up, April 19th, we will be skipping a reading. We'll see how people are doing. If we can rearrange it for Sunday, maybe we can do that. But otherwise, we're going to skip it for that weekend. Give us all a break, because Wolf and I will be at Anime Ottawa.
Oh, I thought it was because that was Easter weekend.
And that too. Holiday.
So much stuff going on.
Yeah.
So we might just take a break from that and come back that next Wednesday.
I think that's not a bad call. But in the meantime, just make sure you stay tuned in with all of these. They're going to keep coming out as we do our best to beat Season 4 to the punch.
Yeah! Beat him!
We'll win.
That's just
Because
what
now
I
we
do
can do it.
now.
I definitely think we can do
We
it.
will
I
beat him
think
and
so.
we will win. Holy shit. Super speech reference.
Yeah. It just comes naturally to me. What can I say?
Hey, yo. Hi, Wooloo.
But if you are enjoying this,
Monday,
make sure you
Monday.
are liking the stream, sharing with any other major ReZero fans. I think we're getting a channel in the ReZero Discord pretty soon, too.
Really?
Not a channel, but a shout out for our
Audition.
Oh, the shout out for the
Auditions.
auditions. That's right. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, but I could ask them, maybe. I know I do want to reach out to some of the witch cult people. Some of them have been really interested in talking about their opinions on the arcs, so we're going to see if we can get them in for a podcast or two. I know Satoe is lined up
Ooh.
at some point, and we're going to see if Garkar, who helped with the later translations, could be interested. So I'm going to reach out, see how they feel, and I'll see if Ice will message me back as well.
We were glazing Garkar in our recording last night for Arc 9.
His stuff
was
is so
so silky smooth. It's so well written. Genuinely. Like, I think he's in our server sometimes. So if you see him, wave high, praise him. He's doing a great job.
Really good job. We will have Aegis, who used to be one of our mods, but also helps run the ReZero Reddit, I believe, and the ReZero Discord server. So he'll be joining us soonish for chapter analysis. He's just worried he might spoil Arc 9, but now that he knows that people here have read Arc 9, he's less worried. So we'll see him around too soon.
And I guess without further ado, anyone else have any major announcements to go over? Any other call to actions that we have to do?
Hey, lost diff money.
Lots of money!
Yeah. Honestly, good point. Thanks, Al.
Yeah.
If you all didn't notice or didn't know, we have a fund at the bottom of our stream here, the Lustive Fund. If that reaches 100%, then we are going to properly rewrite, script out, and thank you, Taildy. Only
fucking me
voice
so
act
bad.
and edit a Lustive recording for all of you. The Butterfly Dream in full, updated to not have any problems in it.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of Felt and Petra. We're rewriting those ones.
Yeah. The
I don't wanna be
questionable
arrested.
morality.
Me
Oh.
neither!
Yeah.
We're thinking
would
some
never
Arc
survive
7
prison.
characters.
Arc 7 characters?
Yeah, maybe some
Oh.
not small and not large girl for one.
Yeah, maybe just something in between.
Yeah.
Medium is premium, what can we say? Somewhere in the middle.
The perfect
And
balance.
perhaps- Maybe someone who's a little foxy as well could be fun.
Hmm.
No spoilers!
No spoilers.
All right, let me, 1 second. If we can kill time for one more minute, and then I'm ready to get started.
Yeah.
Alright, let's kill time.
On the
Kill time.
on the topic of Lustif and spoilers, those added sections, it'd be so funny if you're just like, oh yeah, and this is an exposition for what happens in the next 6 arcs.
Again, the exposition part of the Lost If,
Yeah.
Oh
it
my
just
God.
breaks from the romance to be like, back in the
you
Blackian Empire.
Subaru, do you remember when this exact thing happened? Yeah, I do too. Do you remember that, guys? Do you
Do
remember
you
that?
remember this specific loop that
Yeah,
I
and then the
totally was
narration
aware
breaks
of?
into it.
And it's just
We're
We're just in the library,
most-
like reading a book, and it's like, oh, it's story time. This particular tome is so interesting.
That's
Do you
so
remember this
relevant.
tome?
That's so relevant. Oh, thank you, Zerith. Oh, that's why. That's why we needed that minute. I'll be back.
Also,
someone's gonna fight their
our
dog.
lovely comment is also having a couple connection issues. We might need to kill time until that is fixed or
Resolved.
something. Yeah, resolved is the right word.
Guys, how do we kill time?
You stab it in the chest.
I don't
yeah,
know if
straight
that
to
works
the
for
point.
metaphysical entities.
Like there's a, I don't know if anyone's ever seen. Oh, I don't even remember their channel name. They did the Gamers 1, 2, and 3, and they also have like a little mini series. I think is called Journey Quest, and in that, one of the characters who's playing as sort of a fighter, paladin archetype, is tasked with in order to get a magic item, they have to like defeat the river. The river is the answer to the puzzle, and he assumes, oh, we have to kill the river. And so he
Oh.
spends 3 episodes just stabbing at the water until a nymph spirit appears that is actually the spirit of the river, and with no hesitation puts his sword right through his stomach. Or her stomach.
Oh my
And
god.
it ends up revealing a secret passage that she was going to reveal to him if he passed her test anyway, but it worked out for him.
Oh no.
Yeah, you have. It's
Thank
just
you.
3 episodes of cutaway gags. It's like, okay,
No, yeah,
No.
that's what
we're
it was.
stabbing the river before. What do you want to do? I want to stab the river.
You rolled a nat 20 on that. Okay, you crit the river.
Good job. All right, moving back to the other perspective. You guys.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a very fun series if you haven't checked it out. A huge love letter to D&D.
I'm very excited to
Bill
release
Dice.
the rest of the podcasts for everyone for the reading.
Yeah, dude, I'm so sorry for you being stuck.
It's okay. I'm a patient man. I'm a patient man.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I was listening to him read yesterday and he was just going, "What? What? What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
The what arc?
Pretty much.
Oh?
Once I finish my work for Reverie today, like podcast, everything, I'm going to zoom through Arc 7. I'm at such a wild point.
Common test. Hello.
Which chapter?
Hello, Carmen.
Hey. I can
Hey!
hear pains of screams.
There you go.
We hear
Now
you.
it's having a
Agonize
measly
noise.
300 ping.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Uh
God.
oh.
Oh good heavens.
Do you need some more time too, Common?
I think it's just the NA servers.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it'll be alright. I can always re-record stuff if I need to.
Oh, 100%.
Melee, what do we do?
That was crazy.
I can't believe May's lagging. That's crazy.
At least 300 is better than 5,000.
Yeah. 300 is still under a second, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
When I'm on Mars, I'm gonna have a 50k ping.
Taking forever.
Maybe we move the servers to Mars then.
Oh my God,
It doesn't-
did you live record on Mars?
I couldn't
Yeah,
live
No,
live
it would
record unless I'm
take
doing
too
the whole
long.
thing myself. But
Yeah, no, you do it in the future. You have to like predict when everyone else's lines are going to be done, and then
Oh my god.
speak like a year
Yeah.
before. Not a year, but
No, it's
If
not
I-
that long.
If I had
But
someone
it's still
next to
bad.
me that wasn't recording, and I was reading out the narration and just had them say the lines in between so I knew how long to break between the narration moments, then that's probably the closest I could do. But beyond that, like it's I mean, you have to account for light speed for distances like that.
yeah.
Oh, well, let's see. The guess is the signal takes anywhere from 3 to 22 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, okay.
because it depends where the planets are in their orbits.
Yeah, in
Mhm.
relation.
And if the sun is in between them or not.
hmm
We'll have
So-
to be
so as
stargazers
time
at
goes
that
on-
point. Like, okay, today's gonna be a 3-minute ping. All right, time to play a game. Less painful day. Here we come.
I can play
Less
chess.
Astronomy degree is finally paying off.
We can finally play some Hot Seat Civilization.
Yeah, Hot Seat Civ is perfect.
Very slow Baldur's Gate.
very slow.
I think it kicks you if you go beyond 1,000
I was
ping.
about to say.
Yeah, I think there's a limit to that game.
Oh no.
Comment is your thing
Yeah, I'm
fully
all good.
working? Okay. Then
Let's go.
We're good on our end too.
one more time, a quick thank you to all of those who have donated, incling TLD in the call. Appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
To all of our members as well. Those
That was
ones go
just
to
to
it
even
too.
out that total amount. I don't like it when it's a weird, uneven number
I
like that.
promise I'll change it right in between chapters.
No worries, it's okay. Now I know it's coming, so now I just don't have to look at it.
You never see it coming.
That
We're
puts us
10 off from
at
750 from 75%.
74? 70,
Yeah, we're
I think
74%.
We're almost there.
But 75% is such a nicer number, guys.
Mm.
Don't
Come on. Come
Don't
on.
condition.
$10.
See, the percentage can do whatever it wants. It's that total amount that gets me.
No, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Well, then, I guess without further ado, who's our narrator for chapter 11?
I don't
We
mind
didn't
doing it.
assign
I
them,
can
did
do
we?
narrating.
Yeah, I thought we assigned them. Assigned it.
Assigned it.
Which one's the longer
Well,
one?
12 is
12.
longer.
is
12
12 is 27 pages.
longer.
Taildy
Yeah, I
will
got
give you
12.
12.
Okay, got it.
Of course.
Yay!
I guess. Oh my gosh! Thank you, Zareth. I guess Green or Al, either of you want to step up to this one? This one's pretty long.
I
Oh,
can
16
You wanna grade
pages.
do it as well.
See, it's not so bad.
Rena, you want it? Oh, he's
I think you may have
Muted.
muted.
Okay.
Al,
Al or Cole?
Al, you can do it, or I can pick it up if not.
I can do it.
All right. Thank you, Zareth, again.
Oh my god, I was muted. I'm so mad.
Oh, do you want
Do
it?
you want it?
I was asking you. I want it.
Okay,
Nah, it's
okay,
someone
yeah,
else.
you can go for
Hear
it.
me? It's like I'm mute. Oh,
It is.
Are they listening to me? Ah!
All right, Greenie, when you're ready, you can read the chapter name.
Okay. Arc 6, Chapter 11. I can hear your tears. What had been visible was the light, but nothing else. He remembered that he had tilted his head back. Immediately afterward, one section of the tower before him glowed white, and he had squinted at the glare. That was all he remembered, though. He couldn't recall anything at all after that. He had felt no pain, no shock, no fear, nothing at all. For Natsuki Subaru, these were all indispensable companions in the advent of death. Neither had he felt an ache that would make him cry, nor the impact that would scatter his body into 1,000 fragments, nor the terror of losing everything. Perhaps this death had been a kinder one than any other death Subaru had ever known. Of course, Subaru had died from having his brain vaporized, had no time to think about such things, and certainly no time to dwell in such thoughts. As if he had simply blinked, his vision had darkened for a moment, and immediately after, the lost life of Natsuki Subaru was regenerated, rewound, and once again tossed back into reality. The instant Subaru opened his eyes, a suffocating heaviness overwhelmed his senses. The sound of blood rushing through his entire body felt deafening, and the contraction of his muscles cried out in pain. His grip on the reins was so tight that his nails dug into his palms, and the heat of Beatrice's body alerted him to her presence. Within his faint field of vision, he looked down at the back of Beatrice's head, up close. The violently sweet scent that slipped into his nostrils was something different from what he'd smelled when lifting her into his arms. Beatrice's scent was like that of a sweet baked goods, but this was something else entirely. The air was thick with a cloying sweetness, sticky and toxic, like a suffocating poison. He recognized this sweetness. Of course he did. It was the same scent he'd been breathing in endlessly just a short while ago. In fact, the few seconds it had disappeared was an exception, not the rule. The faint rhythm sound of a flicking tongue reached Subaru's clouded consciousness. Ahead of him, Beatrice stiffened, and even Petrash held her breath as they watched the dragon carriage carrying Emilia and Rem and the abominable witch beast standing at its front. Its body laced with countless fine roots, it was a bloodthirsty, ferocious witch beast, a courtesan bear. In that moment, something beyond deja vu surged through Subaru, a raw, visceral sense of reality crashing back in. There was no doubt about this feeling. This was Return by Death. Natsuki Subaru had just experienced death and returned to this moment because of it.
But of all the times, why the hell did I come back to this moment?
He cursed not at what happened in the moment of his death, but at the lousy timing of his return by death. It was Meili who was making that tongue-clicking sound, trying to draw the witch beast's attention and get it to move away peacefully from in front of the carriage. Her plan almost worked until it fell apart at the last moment. The ground dragon pulled the carriage. Jian couldn't withstand the pressure of radiant from the witch beast. Even knowing that, Subaru instinctively hesitated to make a decision. He couldn't see Giant's condition from the rear, but Julius, who held the reins, couldn't notice the ground dragon's abnormality either. Even to him, there hadn't been anything noteworthy to pay attention to. Everyone in the dragon carriage was hoping Meili's attempt to make contact with the courtesan bear would succeed. But, unfortunately, Meili's voice took on a faint edge of tension, and her finger pointed towards the right of the dragon carriage. Lured to that moment, the courtesan bear slowly shuffled toward that direction. A sense of relief began to take root in the carriage, and in Beatrice too. But Jian couldn't endure the snapping of that fragile thread of tension.
Julie.
Unable to make the correct call in time, his attempt to shout was drowned out by Giant's roar. As if replaying the events from moments ago, Giant let out a growl and stomped the ground, and at the sound of his cry and the tremor that followed, the courtesan bears all awakened at once. With their bloodshot eyes even more exposed and drool dripping from their jaws, the courtesan bears lunged forward. Blushing white light pierced through their skulls. The flow of events was exactly the same right up until the explosion.
Alhuma!
Standing atop the roof of the dragon carriage, Amelia swept both hands outward, forming a vortex of ice blades in the sky with movements like a graceful dance. The rotating blades of ice were fired one after another toward the ground, and the swarm of courtesan bears was swallowed by the deadly weapons, like circular saws made of ice, as their limbs were severed and their cries rang out.
Run! 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 Run!
Pulling the reins to spur Patrace forward, Subaru raised his voice and the dragon carriage began too. He glanced sideways at the driver's seat and saw Ram burst out, switching places with Julius. His sword already drawn, Julius struck at the approaching courtesan bears and scattered them with his blows, and Subaru understood.
Completely the same.
Following the same sequence of events, Subaru clenched his molars hard. His consciousness not being able to catch up due to the sudden return by death was not an excuse. He pushed aside the emotional weight of having just died, and his heart filled with regret. It could have be said that this was the first time Subaru had truly wasted a return by death since becoming aware of it. There had been times when Subaru mishandled the information he gained through return by death and ended up dying again. This was the first time, however, that even after return by death, he had helplessly retraced the exact same situation. It wasn't because Subaru intended to retrace it, nor because he chose to. It simply happened as if he were following the rails of fate exactly as before.
Subaru! There is no free time for you to be spacing out, in fact!
Lowering his head in frustration and gripping the reins tightly, Subaru felt Beatrice bump her back against his chest. At the light jolt and her voice, he looked forward just in time to see a ferocious witch beast charging straight at them. At the same time, he took hold of her small outstretched hand, helped her stand atop the dragon, and their counterattack began.
Minya! Minya, I suppose!
Through his palm, the aimless mana inside Subaru was drawn out and converted into power through Beatrice. Her violet crystal she created pierced into the witches' beasts, blocking their path. Turning their bodies to crystals and shattering them, Patrash trampled over the fragments as she pushed forward.
Secret weapon! Sand Earthworm!
Meili's desperate scream rang out, and from the edge of Subaru's vision, a geyser of sand erupted. Beneath the desert, already overrun by courtesan bears, the sand earthworm emerged from the even deeper below, lifting its massive body. With its enormous jaws, it scoped up several witch beasts at once, and then, towering high enough to blout out the sky, it crushed the enemies beneath its full weight. It was Kaiju Showdown 2, but Subaru knew the odds were still against them.
Run until you collapse, if you do not wish to die!
As Subaru burned with shapeless frustration, a sharp, scolding voice cut into him. It was Ram, handling the reins from the driver's seat, struggling to keep the agitated Jian under control. Her rein work was every bit as skilled as Rem's, and she had the ground dragon under her command. But at this rate, it wasn't going to be enough.
It won't do any good to keep going straight like this! Ram! Change course!
What are you trying to say? What are you talking about? The watchtower is straight ahead, and everywhere else is witch beast territory.
You're not wrong, but still, that won't work!
Patricia lowered her head and rammed upwards into the torso of the courtesan bear standing in her path. With the trashing witch beast still caught on her snout, the jet black ground dragon charged forward, using the creature's body as a shield. Claws hammered down, one after another, tearing into the witch beast's flesh, and a flurry of petals and fresh blood stained the desert sand.
Barasu, what did you notice? Say it clearly!
If I could explain it clearly, we wouldn't be in this mess! Just change course already!
Ram's voice was edged with frustration, and Subaru could do nothing but shout back just as roughly. He knew how irrational he sounded, but he had no better answer to give, because right now, Subaru didn't even know what had killed him. He'd unmistakably activated Return by Death, and yet he couldn't remember what had caused his death. The way he'd suddenly found himself in this moment, it felt disturbingly similar to the very first time he died in the Roswell mansion. First, he had to identify the cause of death, and then deal with it.
Like hell! I've got time for that right now!
Perhaps he had been caught by the witch's beast and fallen prey to their claws. Perhaps it was like the barkeep had warned, and he'd had his guts slurped out. Was hard to believe. Really hard to believe. But even the idea that Beatrice had drained too much of his mana and left him to die of exhaustion wasn't entirely impossible.
I've never had my memories cut off this cleanly. This suddenly.
Whether his guts had been torn open, whether he'd been frozen solid, whether his skull had been smashed in by an iron ball, whether he'd been devoured head to toe by rabbits, or caught up in some incomprehensible authority, Subaru had always returned by death. No matter the cause, he always used the moments leading up to his death to analyze what had gone wrong and find a way to break through. That fragile string of fate was nowhere to be seen this time, and the time to search for that fine string had not been granted to Subaru and the others.
This is straight up the worst Return by Death save.
If he died the same way again, he'd be starting over completely in the dark. Before that could happen.
We make the first move! Whatever happens, don't go near the tower!
And again, why exactly?
The tower's gonna light up! And I'm pretty sure that light's what's dangerous!
Seriously?
Within the situation pressing in, even Ram didn't have time to lace her words with poison. Her voice struck him bluntly with rejection, but Subaru pulled the reins and gave Patricia the signal. Not straight ahead, just turn, no matter what.
The tower's right in front of us, yeah, but still!
They were in the middle of the sand sea, with a massive wave of courtesan bears bearing down on them. The watchtower ahead was clearly getting closer, but heading that way would just replay the same disaster as before. To avoid that, Subaru had only one real option.
We're turning around! I'd rather go through Sandtime again than deal with that! We're heading back to the last dune!
What kind of idiocy are you spouting?
Ram, do as Subaru says.
It was the kind of reckless decision that had made it hard to not assume he'd lost his mind. And just as Ram opened her mouth to object, Emilia stopped her. While wiping out the witch beasts with a storm of ice shards, she glanced at Subaru and gave him a nod.
Because there's no way Subaru would say something weird without thinking it through.
Barsu spews delusions and nonsense on a daily basis.
There's no way Subaru would say something weird without thinking it through, especially when things are dangerous.
Thanks for going out of your way to correct that!
Shouldn't he be upset about being treated like the boy who cried wolf? Or happy that in a crisis he was suddenly the guy everyone relied on? Putting off both self-reflection and ego for later, Patricia responded to Subaru's will, slamming her feet into the sand and swinging into a hard turn. Her wind-slicing tail tore into a witch beast's side, and with a brutal kick, she sent a courtesan bear flying as she charged backward.
You two, up top and on the side. Hold on tight!
Seeing Subaru's sudden swerve, Ram expertly turned Jian around with precise rein control. Naturally, the dragon carriage was slammed with centrifugal force and tilted hard, nearly toppling over, but...
Amelia-sama, a foothold!
Right! Got it!
Julius braced himself against the tilting dragon carriage, driving his sword into the frame to steady his body as he called out to Emilia for support. At his words, Emilia's eyes widened, and in the same instant, her magic surged beneath the carriage. A ramp of ice formed to prop up the slanted wheel, and the dragon carriage swept into a half-circle turn, just barely avoiding a rollover. Still, moving at full speed, they reversed course, following after Patricia without losing momentum. And then it happened.
What the?
The very next moment after they started reversing, a sharp metallic shriek rang out, like something scraping across his eardrums. Subaru instinctively hunched his shoulders, then felt a gust of wind wipe up behind him.
What the hell was that? Wait! Hey! 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 Hey!
Suppose.
A strange sensation surged behind them, and when Subaru and Beatrice turned around, they both froze in shock. Emilia and Julius, riding the dragon carriage just behind, widened their eyes in disbelief.
Sand earthworm Chan it's...
Leaning forward from the driver's seat, Meili's voice trembled as she stared at the sight. Right in front of her, the sand earthworm's massive body was rising up behind the carriage, almost as if to engulf it, over 10 meters long, and so thick that two grown men couldn't wrap their arms around it. The beast raised its head above the sand, surveying its prey like a king ruling over the desert sea. And then that same enormous body took a direct hit and exploded into pieces. Its slimy skin was shredded, its massive frame split cleanly into two. The headless trunk collapsed to the side, while the severed head, no longer supported, began to fall towards them, slowly trickling.
Get to the side! Dodge it!
The falling head of the sand earthworm was massive, easily able to flatten the entire dragon carriage. Behind them, the death cries of the witch beasts being crushed by its body rang out, as Subaru and Ram each barked commands to their ground dragon, yanking them off course to avoid the direct impact. With a shrill cry, the sand earthworm's head slammed into the sand sea. Sand exploded upward, bones from unlucky courtesan bears shattered. Limbs were sent flying by the shockwave. The head bounced once, then kept rolling, smashing into more witch beasts along the way, until at last it was torn to pieces by a storm of claws, reduced to nothing but chunks of flesh.
Too close! Too close! Oh, way too damn close!
Subaru? Something's wrong, in fact.
Subaru had just started to breathe a sigh of relief from their last second dodge, but Beatrice cut that relief short. Glancing down at the girl in his arms, he saw her swat away the swirling flower petals with a skull, then glanced back behind them.
Carriage has been separated from us, I suppose. Only Betty and you are left, in fact.
Are you kidding me?
Whipping his gaze around in a panic, Subaru confirmed that the dragon carriage was nowhere in sight. In the distance, though, he could spot faint glimmers of blue-white mana, hears beastly roars, and sees small bursts of sand erupting upward. Signs that Emilia was still fighting hard, and that Melee had summoned new minions to assist her. But trying to regroup would be near impossible. Between them stretched a swarm of courtesan bears, and even with their numbers halved, the witch beasts show no sign of letting up.
Half our firepower! Double the enemies!
I suppose.
A whip cracked through the air, its tip striking the face of a courtesan bear mid-charge, just as it raised its claws to attack. By sheer luck, the blow crushed the witch beast's eye, and while it thrashed in agony, Patricia used the opening to break through and sprint forward once more. But the direction she chose was nowhere near Emilia's dragon carriage.
Patrichet! That's the wrong...
Judgment to survive, in fact. Compared to Subaru or Betty, leaving it to our instincts is far more reliable, I suppose.
Cutting Subaru off, Beatrice blasted away another courtesan bear, blocking their path. Patrice pushed through a thinner spot in the encirclement, doing everything she could to protect the two riding on her back.
Damn it! This again! Why does it always end up like this? What the hell am I even doing?
Subaru lashed his whip, smacking the face of a witch beast trying to close in, but that wasn't enough to stop the charge of something leaping at him with the eyes of a beast gone feral. A sword could land a fatal blow, magic could shut them down completely, but the powers Subaru had chosen didn't even come close to either. Clever tricks were worthless in the face of overwhelming strength. They got crushed. He'd done what he could, trained, improved, added tools to his belt. He thought he'd gotten a little better. But was fate just going to scoff at Natsuki Subaru's half-baked efforts and stomp them into the dirt?
Even that bastard Regulus was easier to deal with than this!
In fact, just anything. Think of something.
Baeko! Morocco Patrichet! Lighting her weight! Then we can cross over the swarm!
Following Subaru's instructions, Beatrice cast Marok on Patrichet, a spell that lightened gravity's pull, and the ground dragon's speed surged. Each stride now covered twice the distance, and with a mighty leap, Patrichet tried to break free from the writhing flower meadow of witch beasts beneath her, but
The lights!
out of the corner of his eye, something white flashed, and the instant his voice cracked, it tore across the sky. A beam of white light streaked along the ground, ripping through the sand sea in an explosive shockwave. Wherever the light raced, witch beasts' bodies were shred apart. Blood shot into the air, limbs flew, chunks flew, everything flew. Then the aftermath slammed into Patricia as well. The blast of wind from whatever was coming whipped into the ground dragon's huge frame, and she was sent flying with terrifying ease.
Beatrice! Hold on tight!
Subaru better tightly too, I suppose.
Patrice let out a piercing cry as Subaru clung tightly to Beatrice, wrapping his arms around her. The ground dragon spun wildly through the air, corkscrewing as her massive body vaulted over the heads of the courtesan bears. Chasing her through the sky came streaks of white light, raining down in rapid succession. Sand exploded. The witch beasts caught in the blast were torn apart. Even a glancing hit made Patricia cry out in pain. Mid-attack, the divine protection of wind evasion gave out, and Subaru took the full brunt of the impact. Griping the reins and holding Beatrice tight, he squeezed Patrice's saddle between his legs, but the sheer force slammed him around, his body crushing into everything. His conscience nearly ripped away. But even in that state, the claws of the witch beasts below lashed up toward him in pursuit. Swallowing by the storm of violence, he fought with everything he had not to be thrown off. If he fell now, there was no surviving it. The only reason he was still alive was because he refused to let go.
But at this rate... Patricia!
A powerful impact rocked them. Patrice's pained screams tore through the air. Subaru looked back just in time to see it. One of the courtesan bears had finally landed a blow. Patrice's side, weightless under Morok's effect, had been slashed open by a claw. Deep gouges ran through her jet black scales, and blood poured from the wounds. Still moving with momentum, Patricia tumbled and finally collapsed across the sand. At the same time, Subaru and Beatrice were thrown off, crashing into the desert and landing in the middle of the courtesan bears' feeding grounds. Subaru shook his head and forced himself upright, his hand still locked with Beatrice. She stood too, brushing off her skirt and quickly scanning their surroundings with sharp, alert eyes. But no matter how you looked at it, the odds were against them.
Bastards! Don't you dare lay a finger on Patricia!
Minya!
As the wounded Patricia groaned in pain, a blast of magic struck the witch beast, rushing toward her. Subaru yanked Beatrice by the hand and sprinted over, dropping to his knees beside Patricia and pressing his hand to her wound. The claws hadn't reached her organs, but if she moved too hard, the pressure could cause her guts to spill out. They couldn't let her push herself. They needed time to heal her.
Beatrice! Shamak! Cloud the vision of the witch beasts around us!
Even done, it'll only buy us a few seconds, in fact. And besides...
A few seconds is what we need! Do it! Now!
All around them, the witch beasts crouched low, bloodshot eyes glaring, waiting for an opening. If they attacked from all sides, there'd be no defending against it. The only question was which one would lose patience first, and Subaru was pretty sure they wouldn't have to wait long.
Gosh, what the
Do you want me to cover
With
for you,
this.
Kelly, for this one?
Yeah, hold... all right, now it does it. Frickin' heck. Sorry, let me try again.
The frequency of your voice and your mic at this point.
Shamak!
Okay. Beatrice pressed her hands together, and Subaru felt something rip away from deep inside him. The energy swirling into the girl's waiting palms condensed into a silent force, and surged across the sand sea, shrouding everything within a radius of several dozen meters around them in black mist. It was the foundation of yin magic, Shamak, the great and noble spell. As the mist spread, the courtesan bears froze completely. Their movements stopped, their thoughts scattered into the void, even their hunting instincts erased. Naturally, the spell didn't affect Subaru or Beatrice, but it wouldn't last long.
If the ones beyond the range of it effect get in, it'll break down quickly, I suppose. Before that happens, escape along that ground dragon.
I know! Marok's still active, right? Then I'll carry Patrichet and keep casting Shamark while we head for the other carriage.
He reached for Patrichet, choosing to escape the kill zone over everything else. Normally, she would weigh several hundred kilos, but with Beatrice's Murok in effect, her body, well, maybe not feather light, but light enough to carry and run. But her yellow eyes were locked on Subaru, and what he saw in them was too complex, too vivid to belong to any ordinary ground dragon. Those eyes were saying just one thing: go without me.
Subaru!
Just as Subaru was frozen by the look in Patrice's eyes, Beatrice let out a sharp cry. She rushed in, thrusting her palm toward Subaru, and in that instant, her surging magic formed a shield. A violet wall of mana appeared at his side, catching the white beam that had been fired straight at him. A metallic crack rang out, sharp like clashing steel, and Subaru was sent flying sideways by the impact. He tumbled across the sand and landed sprawled out, limbs splayed. Coughing violently, he tried to push himself up, only to realize something was wrong. His right side, the one that took the hit, was bleeding. Thick red drops streamed down, soaking his leg.
What? Get me.
Clenching his bloodied ribs, he dropped to one knee, breath catching in his throat. Then it hit him, the feeling like his insides had been churned up. Nausea surged, and he vomited up pile and blood in one choking heave. Air leaked from the torn wound in his abdomen, bubbling with blood, and made a stupid wet noise like a fart.
Fuck.
Subaru! Subaru!
His breath came out in a rage rasp. At the same moment, his vision tilted hard to the side. He collapsed onto his side, body refusing to move. He understood what that meant. But that understanding didn't lead to anything else. His side burned, pain spreading like his whole body was melting away. He could hear a voice, desperately calling out to him.
Subaru! Subaru, don't die, I suppose! Don't die, please! Don't leave Betty alone! Don't!
Something shook his shoulder. A voice thick with tears begged him. He wanted to reach out, even just a little, but his body wouldn't listen. His brain felt like it was on fire. He couldn't even remember the girl in front of him. She had such a lovely face, but she was crying, and somehow he knew he shouldn't let her make that face. Beyond her, he saw a massive lizard lying still. Black, sleek, beautiful. Its body was pierced by dozens of long, thin white spikes, and it didn't move at all. It was obviously dead. Perhaps he'd been hit by the same thing, was what he thought.
Don't leave Betty behind! Please.
The girl sobbed uncontrollably as she clung to Subaru's body. Her small frame could barely support his weight. His heavy body was far too much for her, but still, she held on as tightly as she could. Tears streamed down her cheeks. He wanted to at least wipe them away. He searched his body for anything he could still move, but nothing. Thus, he reached for something else. Something not in his body.
Subaru.
Invisible to the eyes, a hand only he could see wiped the tears from her face. Black fingers traced along her cheek, and her eyes widened, sensing something. But Subaru didn't even have the strength to smile and reassure her.
Suba?
For a single moment, the young girl tried to say something, but whatever it was interrupted by the white flash that came flying in from behind. A second impact tore through Subaru's chest. When he slowly looked down, he saw it had passed through the back of the girl holding on him, piercing straight through him and out the other side. With a faint breath, the girl embracing him vanished, as if she had never belonged to this world to begin with. Her form disappeared completely. Without her to hold him, Subaru collapsed where he stood. He couldn't move. He had no reason to. His fingers twitched weakly, scratching at the sand. That was all. With its caster gone, the black mist that had separated them from the outside world was swept away by the wind. The magic that masked them was gone. All that remained was the corpse of a ground dragon and a dying boy. The pack of courtesan bears licked their lips and began to close in. His breathing stopped. His vision blurred. It didn't feel like blood loss. It felt like something worse, something fatal, was leaking into him. Everything became distant, unclear. He heard the growl of a courtesan bear closing by, its claw raised high above him. Would that claw come down and crush his skull? Or maybe it would be that faint glimmer in the corner of his darkened sight. He never got the answer. Natsuki Subaru's life ended there.
Fuck.
Oh
Rest
my
in
god.
pieces.
Jeez. Okay.
Poor guy.
All right, there it is. Frickin' sorry, my Discord mic settings were so bad.
I hesitated because whenever I heard you, Tialdi, like I could at least tell you were saying the line.
Yeah, every
I
single
was
time.
trying so hard. I literally, for some of those, I was like holding my mic and like yelling into it, and Discord was like, "No, screw you."
It was the triple minya.
there was-
I heard a.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my
okay,
god!
That
And
should
then
Really?
I apologize. I cut it way too early. I hesitated right there. I don't know how I screwed it up.
yeah,
no, it's
like a lot of those were like, wait, hold on, what are we doing here? Is it like, do we just move forward or?
Yeah.
I was-
yeah.
And then usually,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
That's
I
especially-
figured
yeah.
my default mic on Discord somehow got changed to my headphone one instead of my USB.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh my god, both
Being
sound really
grouchy.
good.
It was being so grouchy. And then I turned off noise suppression because it was on. I didn't know if that was doing anything. But now, every little time I talk into it now, it lights up. So, should be good.
Yeah,
Yay.
it sounds
good.
fine
You
now.
want to test a
All right,
Betty
sorry
line
about
while you're
that.
here?
Now that Betty's lines are over for now, I suppose.
Yep, that sounds
I
perfect.
know it works perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
And now it works perfectly, I
Hi.
suppose.
I love that. That's so great. Hey, it works
Discord
now.
has betrayed me.
Fuck you, Discord kun. Oh,
It's been sowing discord.
Has forsaken you.
Discord sows all the discord.
It's just, oh my god. Outside of however I did it with the reading, this chapter is like painful.
It's just cursed.
it hurts. This section of Arc 6 like literally made me so nauseous. I had to stop reading for like almost 2 years. And then once we get past
2 years?
chapter 15-ish? No,
Yeah,
once we
16.
get into the 20s.
16.
When we get into the 20s,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. This is fine now.
You get a certain
Just
level of
be safe.
tolerance to it.
To pay
Being
this one little
going
to
this is
him.
fine after 15 would be crazy.
Yeah, 16's pretty rough too, I won't lie. Chapter 20, it's like things get a little more calm.
I don't know how they came across. How are my gurgling and death noises? I've been.
That
trying
was
to get them
amazing.
perfected.
Really
That was
good.
purely amazing.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, they pick up on stream well.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah.
And Greeny,
Yeah, because
you're
half of them
getting
are
better.
cut by Discord.
Oh, yeah. On my end, I was so quiet because I was focused on adjusting his gain, but it worked so nicely this time.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, it was good
Yeah.
on stream.
And Greeny, your narration is getting better and better each time. Like, you're, like, improving like crazy.
Well, for this one, once like halfway through, I immediately realized what it was. So I'm like, okay, I got the idea of what I want to go with. I don't know if I was able to project with the
The ending was
What-
good. The ending, I could tell you got into a nice,
was
like,
good.
rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got my fun on Wednesday, so
Yay! We have so many chapters to go.
give your hand off.
So
Yeah,
many to go.
there's a lot.
Be on
that-
standby for Porte Aldi if the chapter gets way too long. Might have to do
No,
a
it'll
quick
now
Okay.
that the microphone isn't being a little bitch, it should go much
It
nicer.
should be fine.
don't
Oh,
worry.
I was getting
You-
so grumpy.
You poor
No,
thing.
I could hear like here and there, so I at least know she set the line. That's why I didn't
Yeah.
want
I
it
was
to.
trying so hard. Like
Ugh.
literally, at one point, I was cradling my microphone, like, "Please, you're right here. Why won't you do it?"
Please
I
listen
like-
to me.
Like it got to the point where I was like, okay, maybe the longer Beatrice lines won't cut out. And then like it would skip either like a phrase or like the El Shamak part. It was just oh.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, the force of the wind whipping around in the desert. It was just taking the lines away. That's what it was.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's all it is.
Beatrice got shamocked.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, Kyle.
El
what I was-
Shamak, I suppose. What? I can't hear you.
El Shamak! Oh my god!
Oh.
This
No.
chapter is certainly something though, eh? Like
It is.
it's a sign of the changing tone of the story. Like
You
Yeah.
could say the winds are shifting.
The wind.
yes, you could indeed say that.
No,
Boo, 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 doo.
there was something that caught my attention with this chapter for Subaru is that he genuinely didn't know what the hell was going on from last chapter when he got wiped out. So this is for him to say this was a wasted return by death is interesting since it makes me think back to that when he died by his sleep in season 1, the one other peaceful death.
Mhm.
I genuinely think even that one he had a little more information. This one almost completely just nothing.
This is
It's why he says this is straight up the worst return by death save.
yeah. This is the most pointless return by death he has ever had, and by that happening, that is like it's in itself a huge loss.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What I wanted is
It's
coming
just gonna
up.
make him sob.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And,
Oh my-
well,
Genuinely, as difficult as it was, I had so much fun like rewriting this chapter specifically because it's just one of my favorites, and getting
yeah.
to see it in full is
Mhm.
so good. Like the Beatrice scene at the end is one of the highlights of Arc 6 for me.
It is.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope I was able to do my best with narration on that because oh my god.
Yes. Oh, my Betty voice. I had to like cue into it so fast. I'm so sorry. It was basically Petra. Just
I'm
saying,
sorry,
I,
I forwarded.
suppose.
I'm
No.
sorry, I forced it.
It's,
Just
I,
saying, I suppose.
I had it prepped
It-
and ready, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be good. I'll be good if I need to do it." And then every
And there was an
time
immediate line.
I just
Then all of a sudden it was like, hey, time to go.
I just play too many kid characters. So remembering them, I'm like, "Oh fuck, which one's this one? Which one's this one?"
Walk into
No, I-
Child Voice 3.
I think for the stream it was amazing. Obviously, the editing will be different, but this was still the best case scenario.
hmm
Yeah.
You still want to edit this chapter?
I'll edit it.
I'm so sorry.
No, when I was doing the narration halfway through, I was like sort of envisioning how I would edit it, so that way the voice could kind of
Nice.
envision
Cool.
itself. So I already have in mind what I want to do for this.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Beautiful. And also, too, it's easier when we're covering for people if we mess up Tealdi, whatever, it's going to get cut anyways.
It's whatever.
Yeah, exactly,
Yay!
exactly. Like I omitted a lot of errors, or like I didn't like. I didn't write down
that's-
every single cut there because it was
Yeah.
just, oh yeah, no, it's gonna be
It's
done
just
over.
basically all of TLD's Beatrice lines, just like, nah,
Yeah,
nah,
it's like, eh,
nah.
whatever.
Which is, I
Anything
mean, that's
Betty-
assumed.
Anything
Yeah.
Anastasia, anything for this next character coming up. Yeah. Easy stuff.
Like, whew, that makes my job easier.
We're gonna give Skura some
Look, all the awkward little that it comes through.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
oh,
like,
oh, there we go. Line goes there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think we need to bass boost Subaru's voice in this edit.
Yes, I agree. And also, Subaru saying that this is even harder than the fight against Regulus, that's insane.
That's funny.
That is
That's-
insane.
He
He
Like,
never died against Regulus.
Yeah, Regulus took a grand total of 0 lives.
The puppy dog was more difficult than Regulus was.
Oh,
Dead ass.
granted, he had
That's
Reinhardt
real.
with him, but still.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's
All right,
sorry, I'm
losing
so
the
stuck on that.
dog.
He took a total of 0 lives.
Yeah, 0.
Get fucked,
Zilch.
Regulus.
Lives lost.
oh man, that's just a big L for Regulus, because, oh my god, 0?
Thin Archbishop of Clownery.
Oh, alright.
Are we
I'm ready to
I'm ready
back
now.
up chapter 12 if something happens.
All right. Hopefully nothing does.
Please
Come
not.
on. Little microphone. I believe in you.
Your headset microphone loves your regular voice.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, as I said, I went in Discord. I fixed stuff. So in theory,
Everything, it already
it
sounds
should all
great.
be okay. All
Even
right.
Maybe
practice Betty
maybe he
lines
just
is
hates
great.
Beatrice.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's like, oh my gosh, I suppose. We don't want to do this anymore. What is wrong with you, in fact?
You are not allowed to voice this character, says your microphone.
Oh my gosh, your
Uh,
first
no.
2 Betty lines, though, were identical to how Kiki plays Betty, and I was like,
Yeah, they
whoa,
were
whoa.
on it.
Did Kiki
See,
get in
there,
here?
it sucked all the talent out in the first 2 lines. And I was like, nope, that's the last line.
Like, oh,
You're on
okay,
now.
okay, let's back it up, pal. Let's back it up, pal.
Whoa,
Can't,
whoa,
can't have you
we
getting
can't do
too
this.
ahead of yourself.
Oh well.
Oh wait, that's
the
a funny
breaks.
comment.
Oh, God.
With the collar cut off, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we ready for chapter 12?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi.
Super ready.
It's a long one.
Here we go. All right, Tails,
Ready to
when you're
roll?
ready, start us off.
Okay. Arc 6, Chapter 12 Baptism of the Watchtower. In an instant, the throbbing and burning pains dissipated. Natsuki Subaru had returned. Honestly, someone ought to applaud him for not screaming at the sight in front of him. After a second return by death, and once again landing in the flower field swarming with witch beasts, Subaru clamped a hand over his mouth and genuinely thought so. The overwhelming scent of floral sweetness filled the air, and through it came the sound of Meili clicking her tongue. Standing in front of the dragon carriage, the courtesan bear had its eyes fixed on the rhythm of her lips and the quiet movement of her fingers. It was a powder keg, and everyone was holding their breath. This was the exact scene he just faced, twice, in fact. And now here he was again, dragged straight back into it.
Are you kidding me?
As the events that had transpired echoed throughout his brain, Subaru's thoughts started to whirl into high gear. His perception needed to shift fast. Just moments ago, he was in a tumultuous life-or-death scramble, chased down by a swarm of witch beasts. But that was then, and this was now. Focus. Focusing on what is in front of him. Right in front of him. What was about to occur? That soft chittering noise reached his ears. That kitten coaxing noise. It was an oddly soothing tone, calm and innocent. But the reality was anything but. The perfume of the floral scent only made it harder to think, clouding his decision-making at the worst possible moment. Was it the stench? The sweetness? The noise? The itch? The heat or the pain? Each sensation clawed at him. Loud, cloying, suffocating. But which one was the truth? Which should be focused on? The more he thought about it, the more it stressed his brain, but no concrete solutions came to mind. His brain could not keep up with the discrepancy between the current situation and the situation that he had been experiencing up until then. Subaru desperately tried to adapt to the present before feeling a light push against his chest. Looking down, he saw Beatrice's small body leaning on his chest. She was tucked snugly against his chest and gently lifted the reins in one hand, showing him what she'd grabbed. Perhaps she had caught what he had dropped during his immediate shock after returning by death. The moment of his last death flashed through his mind, along with the memory of Beatrice's tearful face and trembling voice. Yeah, that's right. That's how it is. He was now on the third time dealing with this paralleled situation. He had died here twice before now. The first death was inexplicable, but the second, that one at least retained some vague sensation of the reasoning. Even so, the pain at the moment of death seemed distant. The slight sensation of his organs melting internally, his thoughts being boiled like stew simmering in a pot, that sensation.
No. That's not what matters right now. What matters is...
Just as Subaru's thoughts caught up to his second death, Meili successfully drew the attention of the courtesan bear. Following the clicking of her tongue and movement of her fingers, the witch beast slowly diverted its gaze from the dragon carriage and was guided to its right side. If the courtesan bear simply lumbered off in that direction, everything would be fine. But Subaru already knew it wouldn't. The beast was almost gone when the ground dragon standing directly in its path, Gyan, let out a heavy, ragged breath. The pressure of facing a witch beast from so up close, and the scent of flowers that continued its violent spread. Two kinds of pressure tormented the calmness of the ground dragon, which would make that tense thread snap. If the ground dragon made a noise, the swarm of the agitated witch beasts would attack suddenly and simultaneously. If so, it would result in nothing but a repetition of the previous two deaths. However, except for Subaru, no one could notice Gyan's agitation. Even Julius, who held the reins, also had his attention diverted from the ground dragon, concentrating on the threat of the monsters before them. Therefore, Subaru was the only one who could do anything about it. But how was he supposed to do that? He couldn't speak, nor could he rush over and touch it. Even trying to call out to Julius would draw attention and risk setting everything off early. And more than that, there just wasn't time to decide. What could he do? Then, in the last seconds, Subaru closed his eyes. If nothing came to his mind at that moment, he would go full all or nothing and call upon Julius. He recalled the two previous deaths, the onslaught of the witch beasts, and the light of the watchtower coming alive again inside his mind. At that moment of the second death, there was the fact that a crying Beatrice had clung onto him, pleading, "Leave me alone," which drove a deep thorn into Subaru's chest. And then he realized,
Bayako, I love you.
He hugged her small body from the back and whispered those words in her ear. Beatrice was surprised at the sudden expression of love, but the hand over her mouth did not allow her to shout. Instead, Subaru extended his hand towards Gyan at a diagonal. The same hand which had gently caressed and wiped Beatrice's tears just before his death.
Invisible providence.
Though, as his mouth was too busy confessing his love with a whisper, the name of that technique was chanted only within his heart, unfortunately. Just then, in the center of Subaru's body, A different sensation from when the link with Beatrice drained his mana permeated from him, like something dark being summoned, arousing a silent cry. It was the unseen hand, something that didn't even exist in this world, loudly declaring its arrival, ready to fulfill the task in place of the slothful Natsuki Subaru who had summoned it. With Subaru's chest as its pivot point, the black hand that had been created slowly manifested itself in the world. Of course, its existence could not be seen by anyone except for Subaru. As he was embracing Beatrice, the unseen hand just went through her, and it seemed like it did not make any unintended contact. While admiring that fact, he could feel that something in him was being drained away each second. Whether it was his soul or sanity, Super did not know. However, he could not afford to take too much time to avoid reaching out to Julius. The black magic stretched to Gion's neck, who seemed like it was about to roar at any moment. The palm slowly stroked its thick neck coated by bulky scales. The large ground dragon trembled from being touched by someone, but somehow, its instincts probably felt that there was no hostility in the touch of the palm. And so, the ground dragon's rough breath calmed down, its body relaxing.
Huh?
Then, also noticing Gion's reaction, Julius pulled the reins and soothed the ground dragon in earnest. As expected from Julius, he skillfully handled the ground dragon, noticing its agitation, with what could have otherwise been devastating. Confirming that, Subaru immediately cut off the connection with the unseen hand. With the black palm deprived of freedom, it dissipated in an instant, fading away into the parched wind of the sand sea, as if nothing had happened. After dodging that bullet, Subaru took a long breath of relief. At the same time, there was a part of him, like a dark, swirling miasma chambered within his chest, that he longed to expel. Naturally, things would never be so simple. Absence, a consequence brought upon by using invisible providence, still rent his soul, leaving its indelible mark. Yet, as Subaru grappled with the suffocating loss that twisted at his very heart, he couldn't help but think. Invisible providence, the cost of using the unseen hand, the suffocating sensation and feeling of loss, had become noticeably easier to endure compared to before. The first time Subaru had used this power, invisible providence, was during his battle with Garfield at the Sanctuary. In that moment, desperate to unleash some form of power, Subaru had been overwhelmed by the profound sense of loss that he nearly convinced himself that his very ego had been irrevocably severed. The disorientation and sense of intoxication had been so intense that his consciousness wavered. Such was the exact reason why Subaru had been warned about the nefarious corruption latent to using such powers. No, his authority, the reason of which was obvious through its utilization. For this reason, he had never seriously considered using this power casually. Unlike that madman's unseen hand, Subaru's invisible providence lacked the strength and precision to match it. At most, it was good for wiping away a fallen tear, or patting someone on the head. The cost it extracted, thereover, was far too great for such lacking returns. And that was why, in many ways, Subaru had all but sealed the power away.
It's not like I've gotten used to it.
Shaken with a feeling of loss and disgust, Subaru felt more anxiety than relief. What Subaru believed was that it was always good to hold more cards in one's hands, but that did not mean that possessing multiple pairless jokers and Old Maid would do him any good. Of course, it would serve as a powerful hand in games other than Old Maid.
What have you been doing for a while now, I suppose?
Oh! What? What?
As Subaru let out a small shriek amidst his worries, a grumpy voice suddenly appeared. Upon opening his eyes to see what was happening, he found his eyes meeting with Beatrice's own, staring at him. And that Beatrice looked quite unusual.
Bayako, what happened to your hair and clothes?
It's the result of Subaru being glued to Betty's hair and clothes all the time, in fact. Why do I have to suffer such a humiliation, I suppose?
Huh? Me?
In front of Subaru, who was tilting his head cluelessly, a furious Beatrice was attempting to hide the anger in her voice. Her splendid drills were jumbled, and both the delicate dress and the white cloak to protect the dress from sandwind were arranged eccentrically and running at the forefront of fashion. It was a state-of-the-art pattern that no one had ever thought of. The fact that you don't realize it is what's so infuriating, I suppose. I thought maybe you were just anxious, so I generously overlooked it. But you just kept getting carried more away, in fact. But how? Now, I suppose you don't even remember those ridiculous love words from earlier, I suppose.
No. I remember that. I really mean it when I say Aishtaru, Bayako.
To those candid words, a red-faced Beatrice completely covered her head with her cloak. He really wished to admire that unfamiliar cute appearance, but right now he could not play with Beatrice. As a result of Subaru's unspeakable efforts, Gyan would not make a fuss and would attempt to resume the march of the dragon carriage by relying on Meilei's ability. However, as Subaru went through the gulf opened between the courtesan bears, he brought Patrichet close to the coachman's spot.
Julius, Meili, let's make a temporary retreat. Things are bad.
It was because of the two deaths that he proposed a rework in their strategy.
I'm super disappointed in you, Oni-san. Just a little bit dangerous and you're immediately turning tail and running.
How typical of you, Barasu. I thought maybe you'd improved a bit after becoming Amelia's knight, but in the end, your true nature cannot be changed. Always quick to finish, as usual.
There's no reason to wound my pride just because I'm insisting on safety!
After managing to turn back from the flower garden and returning to the meeting place which they had set up after breaking through sand time, Subaru was being stabbed with strict criticism for making the decision to withdraw. Meili, who had successfully tamed the courtesan bears and opened the way towards the tower, and then Ram, who had been struck by the window in the dragon carriage, prepared for any emergency situation. Subaru, who had stopped the march of the dragon carriage and requested a face-to-face meeting on the sand, was shrinking as he was cornered about stopping their progress based on just his own opinion.
I don't think Subaru's judgment was wrong. Even if we tried to go straight through the flower field like before, I think something like what happened earlier might just occur again. So, if that were the case, we might have not made it out as smoothly as we just did now.
Oni-san doubts my ability? You believe Oni-san more than me?
We've come this far. I believe in both of you. But my opinion is that I especially want to believe what Subaru says. Sorry.
E-M-M.
Emilia-ten Maji Magami, who fought against Meilei's childish rebuttals while putting her heart into it. As if in prayer, Subaru brought his hands together, and beside him, Beatrice fixed her disorderly clothes and hair. So, what exactly do you plan to do, in fact? If the witch beast girl's blessing is unreliable, then trying to pass through this flower field is maybe too reckless, I suppose. If Bubby were here, maybe it would be a trifling matter to annihilate a group of witch beasts this size. But that matters not now, in fact.
If Puck were here, yeah. Should I just try my best or something?
I really want that to be used as a last resort. Also, even if we wipe out the courtesan bears here, I feel like other witch beasts will rush forward and it will become an infinite loop. What do you think, Meili?
flow being directed towards her, wearing a pout on her face. Meili averted her face. The girl crouched down, putting her chin over her knees, displaying the attitude of a child.
What is it?
It's a question of whether the only ones near the flower meadow are just the courtesan bears. To put it bluntly, if the courtesan bears weren't around, it'd be a home for other witch beasts, right?
It might not exactly be wrong, but that's not totally right either.
Which is it?
That's true. Right on the money, Oni-san. But if so, what are you gonna do about it,
From Subaru's point of view, Meili questioned him back. Receiving her dissatisfied look, Subaru frowned, and Julius shrugged his shoulders.
I understand Miss Meili's point. Subaru's concerns are valid, but even so, if we keep retreating at every unexpected turn, nothing shall be accomplished. If we were able to anticipate or prepare for each situation as they come, there would be no unforeseen circumstances.
Even so, just leaving it all in the hands of a divine protection and rushing in without thinking is a different thing. Or rather, I should say, that suggestion would be very out of character for you. That's more like Garfiel's role.
Naturally, I would never suggest such recklessness. We should decide what to do after a constructive discussion, whether we proceed or return, that is.
Just like before entering the flower meadow, Julius said this, raising his 2 fingers. As Subaru snorted at the gesture, everyone began thinking about the situation.
What about having Barasu act as a decoy while we break through and he's being devoured by the witch beasts?
United we stay!
Rom and the others would be saved, and we could also get rid of these pesky bugs from Rem. It's a brilliant idea.
I'll be devoured!
Still, I'll work really hard to fight for everyone in such...
Immediately comes to such unexpectedly meat-headed conclusions at times like this.
Me, what? What's with that all of a sudden? This is so embarrassing.
Unusually for me, I'm not giving unconditional praise to Emilia Tan, alright?
Leave it to Miss Meili's divine protection, and we will advance through the flower garden until we can no more. Once we have reached the limit, we shall launch a preemptive attack and rush to the watchtower. It is a powerful gamble.
I can't explain it, but it'll fail. I can't explain it, but I'm certain.
You speak in a way that seems to have absolute certainty behind it.
I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's hard to reject the plan of assault without evoking the taboo of return by death. During the discussion, which could hardly count as a meeting of strategy due to the lack of progress, Subaru suddenly had a realization and played his hand. He had forgotten to properly even contemplate the reasoning behind his 2 previous deaths, prioritizing the shock of the first and then the reverse course throughout the meadow. The first death was too sudden, and the second was an inexplicable frenzy, so we couldn't pinpoint everything clearly. But one thing was certain. Both of Subaru's deaths were a direct result of that light.
The tower shines. Has anyone else seen it too?
The watchtower.
The watchtower shines?
At Subaru's question, everyone tilted their heads with surprised faces. Subaru groaned at the poor response and that no one saw it. It was somewhat natural. In honesty, Subaru had witnessed that light at more or less the same time of his death. If that light really possessed an intent to kill, then all those who laid their eyes upon it would not live to tell the tale. An attack that would materialize certain death. That was what he should regard it as.
Natsuki-kun, you saw the tower glowing?
Huh? I don't believe I'm wrong, but I think it might have shined.
When was that?
When I was in the flower meadow, I think.
He replied to Anastasia's inquiry in the form of another question. However, because the situation in the flower meadow meant that he could not speak out, it did not seem suspicious that he had kept quiet about the light at the tower. Since Subaru had seen the tower's light both times returned by death was activated, it was possible that the taboo would be considered as violated. For a second, he felt sorry that he was able to report the truth only in irregular bits.
If the tower lights up, does that mean the sage in the tower song was watching us?
Not necessarily. It's nighttime, too. It wouldn't be strange to use a light. I see. If the sage has noticed us, it may be a good idea to let them know that we don't mean any harm.
Except, since Subaru's argument had been blurry and ambiguous, Amelia's thoughts went in a completely different direction. Of course, it was a journey to seek friendly contact. If the cause of the light was indeed the sage, it was only natural that such an opinion would arise. But to Subaru, who was aware that the light was anything but friendly, this would be the same as running towards a cliff.
Wait! Let's try to sort our information for now, and then let's decide whether or not to get in touch with the sage.
Sort out our information?
Yeah, organise, because, it's all there. That light is not necessarily a sign of life from the sage. It's more, there's a possibility of it being a dangerous thing, like a Tanshoto, isn't there?
Choto? Well, you saying that you think the light you saw wasn't from the sage, but sort of from an automatic defense mechanism or something?
Exactly!
While Amelia had a question mark hovering over her head because of the unknown Western characters used, Anastasia, or rather Aridna, understood the true meaning of Subaru's words. Julius heard them and looked curious. The knight murmured,
That's so.
"Is that so?" under his breath, and
I do not know whether the sage has been alive for hundreds of years, or if it is merely exaggeration. Is it possible that the sage has left behind his legacy, still working as a device to protect the world?
Oh, I didn't think about it like that, but it is possible.
If that is the case, it would assume for convenience that everyone approaching is one who schemes to resurrect the Witch of Envy, even the kingdom's envoys. It's been a long-standing mystery as to why the sage, who was supposed to be friendly towards the kingdom, would display such violent conduct as told in reports.
relieved, Julius spoke, spurring Subaru's admiration with a, "So there's also this way of thinking." Indeed, the idea of a defense system left behind by a grand figure from the past, one that continues to expel intruders long since its master passed away, is a fairly common trope. Such in this magical world where such devices were possible, it wouldn't be surprising for such obstacles to be set.
If that's the case, I want you to give me a break because it means this trip will be a waste.
It doesn't matter if the sage is dead or alive, so long as there are records left by them. Don't go acting like the world's doomed already, Barasu.
I'm not gonna let Nisama's bullying get to my head.
If Julius's speculations were correct, the whole foundation of the journey would be undermined. But even against such a possibility, Rom's determination would not waver nor change, as one would expect.
Anyway, staying awake for hundreds of years, always on watch, seems sort of like an implausibility. But if that's the case, there's still hope. As for already mourning the sage Shala, alive or dead, I don't think there's much reason to be pessimistic about it. You hear? Really? Why? If they're a long-lived species, it ain't surprising that they could be alive, you know? Even my echidna. Her birth was hundreds of years ago, after all.
Pulling out the white scarf from inside her robe, Anastasia smiled. In response to that, Amelia stared absent-mindedly and immediately touched her pendant, thinking of Puck.
What? My Puck is also long-lived too, you know? No way he's younger than that echidna. Nuh-uh.
Why are you competing with each other, Emilia-tun? Well, my Beiko is actually quite a lolly granny too, right?
Do you think Betty would answer that with a laugh, I suppose? It makes my skin crawl, in fact.
As Beatrice sneered with anger, Subaru shrugged. With the conversation having diverted from the main subject, Rom clapped her hands.
Age's life or death is beyond our realm. What matters now is the true nature of the light that Barasu glimpsed. Is it something dangerous or another one of his hallucinations? Let's come to a conclusion.
It's about time our relationship develops to the point where you don't doubt whether what I report is true or false, you know?
The fact that I'm not outright deciding it's a lie should show you I'm making some concessions here.
If they did not reach a consensus, it was likely that there would not be any progress. In any case, the discussion ended up returning to the subject of the true identity of the light.
I think it's dangerous. At the very least, it's not friendly.
And the basis is just intuition.
Well, that's right.
Right. That's troublesome.
The light of the watchtower. Super was convinced that it was the cause of both of his deaths, but to convey that fact was a difficult task. So he thought it would be impossible to use intuition as his reason. But surprisingly, Rom took that reply seriously. And not only Rom, but Emilia and Julius too.
Just based on my intuition? You don't have any more doubts about it?
If this were just Subaru's initial hunch, I might think, maybe not. But it's Subaru's intuition, right? In that case, rather than doubting it right away, it's worth taking the time to think this more thoroughly.
Do not be so self-deprecating. You've been through your own fair share of rough situations, have you not? There's a certain intuition one acquires through undergoing such things. It could be called an appeal to experience, but whatever it is shan't be taken lightly. Like a field mouse that moves to its nest before the heavy rain, one should never underestimate Barasu's good timing.
It's just stupid enough? Is that what you're saying?
Like a reflex reaction to the poisonous remarks thrown his way, Subaru's shoulders relaxed a tad. Not being able to reveal the source of his information, even to those close to him, was an absurd reality. Subaru had come across the same situation many times, but each time he was saved by the concern and trust of the others around, in the same way, over and over again. Rem in the royal capital, Otto and Rom in Sanctuary, Emilia and Beatrice in the city of Pristella. They all believed in Subaru, in what he was.
There's no way to catch their attention in a friendly way. If you even make a loud voice, Bear Son will come to welcome us before the sage does.
That is something I wish to avoid. Then, the realistic means should be sending Emilia-sama's magic. Or so it seems.
Towards the watchtower, Julius stretched his right hand and closed one of his eyes. It was a gesture akin to a painter attempting to get a sense of distance, then staying like that, silently thinking for a moment.
Roughly, from here to the watchtower is around 10 kilometers. It is not a realistic range for Emilia-sama's magic, if produced from the front of the flower garden.
By the way, how far can you cast your magic, Amelia-tan?
Distance? I've never really measured it, so I don't know. But I don't think I can reach the tower from here. It'd probably evaporate before it hits.
The silhouette of the watchtower at their current location was clearly closer than the silhouette visible before the sand time. In fact, on their trip through the field of flowers, they had come very close. Even so, the plan to aim at the tower from the edge of the flower garden was not practical.
If passage were granted by simply informing them of one's existence, Reinhard would have been able to get through. Being that guy, couldn't he just slash a slash that could cover a distance of about 10 kilometers?
There is no way of knowing that except asking him, but it is likely that Reinhardt did not get through Sandtime when challenging this trial. We've only reached this far because of Anastasia-sama. No, because Echidna knew the way.
You got a point there. Shit! Don't you know anything more?
The proposal was rejected. Subaru pointed to Aridna with a melancholic voice. Then, playing her part as Anastasia, Aridna appeared skillfully handling the muffler concealing her state.
Even if you say so, it's hardly my fault. Simply being able to declare that a path beyond the sand time is an achievement no one has ever reached before. Perhaps you should be praising me a little more. Do you not think so?
We're the first to get here, is that it? Claiming to have the way there in memory, but you're actually a newspaper man on delivery duty with only a faint recollection. You're not doing your job.
There's some truth in that.
Subaru's theory being rude, Arina did not attempt to refute it. The scarf kept silent, and that pondering attitude also passed on to Anastasia. Then, suddenly raising her face, Anastasia said,
That's right. But now looks like to be a better sum of things that we know at the moment.
The things we know. So...
That suspicious light from the tower. That's Natsuki-kun peeped. The witch beast filled meadow spreading in front of the tower. And then 3 sand times. Got anything else?
The information that Anastasia listed had all been established so far. It was important to build a path and pave the way to a conclusion. Subaru folded his arms and recalled the journey thus far and the dangers he had witnessed. For a while.
Now, there is this place we came to after choosing to cross the sand time of the night. Then there's the fact that it'd be too much of a burden on the ground dragons to pass through that flower meadow. Also, I'm pretty sure Meili brought a witch beast alongside us without telling anyone.
Counting on his fingers, and Meili's shoulders hitched in a panic. Everyone's eyes turned to the little girl, having seen her blatant reaction. In response, Meili hurriedly shook her head and...
Wait! Yes, Oni-san is right, but how does Oni-san know that?
Guesswork. It was just a trick question.
Still, it seems Subaru's imagination was right. What will you do?
Julius, in a quiet voice, questioned what should be done regarding Meili's betrayal. Hearing that attitude, Meili's face turned pale, but Subaru did not wish to make matters worse. Stopping Julius with his hand and fixing his eyes on Meili.
Don't worry, I'm not talking about scolding her. I understand it's just your insurance. Still, it was just a suspicious factor.
What? Should I let it go? If I do, you won't get mad, right?
There's no need to release it. If you think you need one, please, keep it. If we're being surrounded or chased by a group of courtesan bears, it'd be a great help.
Thinking he must be joking, Meili widened her eyes and just nodded. Just to be sure, Subaru stared back at Julius, who had yet to loosen his vigilant eyes.
That's what children do. Let's give her a pass.
If she were a child that was only capable of accomplishing what a child could, I would do my best to handle her that way. However, that ability is too great to simply trust her blindly, especially in a land like Agoria, which could be considered a garden for these witch beasts.
Even so, we're all sharing the same dragon carriage, so please get along.
Of Subaru's, Julius hesitated a bit and then ceased reaching for his sword. Then, instead of the silent Julius, Emilia raised her hand.
So, Subaru, let's continue the talk from earlier.
Oh, yes, let's move on.
If we can't get through the meadow, then what would we do? Maybe we could try using another sand time and see if we end up somewhere different?
That's one way, but there's something I'd like to try briefly.
Something you'd like to try?
Having no clue as to what Subaru was thinking, Emilia tilted her head in confusion. Copying that from Emilia, Subaru turned his eyes toward the edge of the flower meadow, the sea of flowers that filled the area up to the watchtower. Of course, it was not possible to see to its end.
If the flower meadow comes to an end somewhere, we won't have to worry about being targeted from all sides at least. It's worth a try checking whether there's an edge like that or not, right?
In the end, everyone agreed to head to the edge of the flower field together.
If we act separately and get off track, it'll all be for nothing. That said, I'm not particularly keen on pushing forward through the Witch Beast territory without Miss Meili's aid.
That reasoning earned a unanimous nod from the group. Subaru agreed as well. As tempting as it was to scout ahead solo, safety came first.
Well, I'd like to start departing soon, but
With that, everyone finished prepping and mounted their respective ground dragons and the carriage. They would be heading left, keeping the silhouette of the watchtower off to their right. That meant they'd be traveling roughly north, assuming the cardinal directions still made any sense out here in the dunes.
thinking calmly about it, this whole place is also a strange case of space-time distortion. If by going through sand time you arrive here, it's somewhat similar to door crossing.
It's not like Betty doesn't get what you're trying to say, in fact. Twisting space and manipulating distances. That does sound like a dressed up version of door crossing, I suppose. Betty's even pulled a similar trick on you once before, in fact.
You did? To me? When?
I'll never forget it. It was on our first encounter, I suppose.
First encounter? Oh! In Roswell's mansion! When I sheer get to that infinite loop corridor in one try! Oh, I'm sorry about that. Even though it was so hard for you to get it ready, I'm sorry for trampling all over your hard work. Sorry.
You apologizing all serious like it makes me seriously mad, I suppose. Like I just forget that easily, in fact.
You reminded me?
That's it, in fact.
Beatrice, riding with Subaru, suddenly flew into a pout. Subaru just sighed and gave her a hug to calm her down, the eternal puzzle of girl logic weighing on his face. Once she settled, he had Patrichet approach the carriage.
Are you ready there?
Without a problem. Now all we need is for Amelia-sama to perform her task.
That's right.
Julius, sitting up front at the driver's seat, gave a nod. Subaru looked up toward the roof. Same as before, Amelia was stationed up top for the march. She looked unusually pleased to be standing up there, like it was a personal victory. Subaru raised a hand to her and asked, just like before, for her to put up the marker.
Amelia-tan, please, here. For the time being, this is our base camp. Be as quiet as possible. Like, so you don't disturb the witch beasts.
I gotcha. If we end up wicking the witch beast now, it'd ruin all the effort we took to sneak away quietly. So nice and quiet. Super quiet.
Slowly moved his hand, gesturing to go slowly, and Amelia mimicked it while, before their eyes, a tower of ice emerged from the sand. It seemed like they were right in their judgment that it would proceed quietly. In fact, the ice tower was built slowly and gently, so the usual tense sound in the air went unheard. A few parts had come out looking a bit weak, but it had a fine finish, and seemed to be able to fulfill its role safely.
Is it okay?
Yush, no problems! As expected, Amelia-tan!
Giving the anxious Amelia a big O
Oh!
and a K,
Okay!
Subaru peeked in the direction of the flower beds. There were concerns regarding the witch beasts, namely if they would be able to sense mana activity, but fortunately, there was no sign of anything other than the sweet scent of nectar flowing from the flower gardens. Actually, it seemed quite dull.
Even now, I wonder why are they pretending to be a flower meadow? If they want to camouflage themselves, don't you think a desert is a strange place to do it?
Really shouldn't expect that kind of cleverness from witch beasts, I suppose. Those things don't do anything outside of what's carved into their instincts. They just don't, in fact. That's just the kind of creatures they are, I suppose.
I see. Very interesting.
Beatrice, held near his bosom, gave a bitter evaluation. Nodding at those words, Subaru averted his gaze to the flower garden and aimed to give the order to their departure. And he noticed. At the edge of his field of vision that contained the flower garden, a change took place. Somewhere different from the flower garden. The watchtower glowed.
Amelia!
Huh?
Immediately, Subaru raised his voice and called out to Amelia on the roof. Hearing the urgency in his voice, Amelia stiffened, but the effect of the light exceeded that. Making a violent, sharp sound, the ice tower took a direct hit from something and smashed it to pieces. The large, slender ice tower, its height 10 meters, was nothing but fragile. However, as if destroying a sandcastle, the attack broke the ice with ease and reduced it to mana. Again, he had not been able to see it, but he understood.
I knew that light was an attack!
Bro, next one is coming!
While his body was bathed by fragments of shattered ice, Subaru turned his neck to Beatrice's call. Immediately after that, the watchtower shone again, as per his intuition. The light's next blow was aimed at Subaru. The light would approach at a speed that did not even allow them to blink, and it would target his vital points with its single blow. Its devastating power was already known to Subaru, who had died from it already. Therefore, the moment his brain detected that had been targeted by the light, death had already been determined. The light attacked, aiming straight for Subaru's forehead. It was death itself, killing its prey without a sound, only leaving behind a skewing wind. Natsuki Subaru was once again about to be killed in cold blood, with no assistance possible.
E-M-M!
I suppose!
In this case, Natsuki Subaru was not the only one being aimed at. A pleasant sound echoed, and the attack that should have hit Subaru missed. The cause was simple. Subaru's strength surpassed that of the attack. EMM was one of the 3 original spells Subaru had developed with Beatrice. This particular one was absolute defense magic. During the activation of EMM, Subaru would not receive any interference from the outside world, being rendered unable to move. It was the result of applying all of Beatrice's yin magic skill and knowledge into manipulating time and space in a limited area around Subaru.
Oh, it's a bit weird realizing that the effect is similar to that asshole's. Gah!
The Sin Archbishop of Greed, Regulus, could stop the effect of time on his body by transferring his heart. EMM could be said to be a downsized version of that ability. However, there were no harmful side effects like one's heart stopping, so a person would become invincible as long as their mana was not exhausted. In this situation, though, it was nothing more than buying some time.
But, just buying time! I've got important things to do!
Hey, Subaru, what are you screaming for, in fact? Are you okay, I suppose?
Behind Subaru, Beatrice's worried voice yelled as she used his body as a shield. It was like this because even though they were protected, sound and shock were still being transmitted. After EMM activated, the light of the watchtower seemed to wonder why Subaru was not dying even after being hit again and again, so it kept bombarding him with consecutive attacks.
God! God!
Its rate of fire and the accuracy of its aim were both extraordinary. Although the pain and the force of the blow was one that Subaru's body did not suffer. Unfortunately, it was human reflex to react with a yell upon being hit by something.
Subaru! Jeez!
Watching Subaru being showered by a concentrated attack, Amelia attempted to support him from atop the roof. Looking to protect Subaru from the watchtower's attack, a thick and enormous ice barrier was erected from the sandy ground. Perhaps the toughest defensive wall Amelia could create in an instant. It was well-intentioned, a shield from the attacks targeted at Subaru, but...
No way!
Even the ice walls do not stand a chance.
Amelia let out a shriek, and Julius a startled cry. As they could see, the ice wall was crushed in one shot. That unbelievable power was not the only reason. The ice wall was struck, but somehow weakened the light enough to avoid having it hit Subaru. Much of it rebounded and struck the sand, which kicked up a white smoke. Looking at it closely, the marks of the destruction of Amelia's ice wall showed that it had been melted rather than pierced.
Heat? The heat melted it all away?
Something fell to the ground. A needle?
Looking at the effects of the attack, Amelia and Julius simultaneously reached different conclusions. In the meantime, the assault resumed. Subaru was struck by a staggering number of attacks, and even though he was in an invincible state, it was exceeding their limit.
Subaru, this is really bad, I suppose.
I'm listening, but I can't.
If things keep going the way they are, we'll be running out of mana very soon, I suppose.
Already?
We're barely hanging on by a thread, I suppose.
At Beatrice's cry, Subaru bit his molars while still under fire. Of course, what Beatrice meant to say was not,
"Since mana's running out, you should supply more, I suppose."
but,
"Since mana's running out, we should counterattack, I suppose."
Can you do it?
What a foolish question, I suppose.
Beatrice did not answer his question by saying she could not. Hearing the response of his trusted partner, Subaru loosened his jaw, relieving his molars, and steeled himself.
The third one's incomplete. Let's go with the second one!
I'm going to deactivate EMM right after it hits.
There was no time. Subaru looked at Amelia. Amelia looked at him and nodded. There was no time to discuss concrete measures, but he believed it was conveyed. A flash of light shot out, and once again, Subaru took a direct hit. It didn't harm him, not while EMM was still active, but right then, the spell deactivated. His original spell was a one-time trump card, usable only once per day. Now that EMM was gone, Subaru no longer had any defense against that light. And before the next shot landed, he had to strike back.
The light.
As if it had predicted his next move, the next beam fired faster than any before. This wasn't like the previous shots. The speed, the power, this one was clearly meant to kill him. With Subaru's paper-thin durability, even one direct hit would be the end. And so...
Stop!
A surge of mana swirled in front of Subaru, and in an instant, multiple walls of ice erupted from the sand. This time, the defense was not limited to only one wall. Instead, 6 sheets of ice walls had been conjured at once. The beam of light slammed straight into the first wall. It shattered it easily. The second went down just as fast. The third barely even slowed it. However, there was a slight resistance on the 4th sheet, and the 5th one could endure for only a bit. By the 6th and last one, the speed of light was clearly dulled, but could still go through it. The light pierced through the final wall and lunged straight for Subaru's unguarded forehead. At that moment, a knight's blade carved a clean arc through the air and slashed the slowed beam in two before it could land.
Unfortunately, there would be a number of women who would grieve if he is hurt.
Rushing from the dragon carriage to this place and striking the light with a slash of his sword without minding the danger was Julius. Emilia's defense had weakened it, and Julius had stopped it. Even though he was slightly jealous of that combined strike, Subaru's preparation was complete.
Let's go! The second! Absolute invalidation magic! EMT!
Subaru threw back the hood he'd been wearing to shield himself from the sand and opened his mouth wide to begin the chant. In response, Beatrice, tucked behind his back, reached into him and pulled mana from deep within. Blending Subaru's magic with her own, she shaped it into a new spell. In the next instant, a soft light expanded outward from the two of them, forming a spherical field of energy about 10 meters across, wide enough to encompass the entire dragon carriage. To the naked eye, it looked like a transparent orb of light surrounding them, but its effect was anything but subtle.
Is this?
Even as Julius stared in surprise, another shot of light fired from the watchtower. Catching it in the corner of his eye, he instinctively raised his sword. Then his eyes widened. The light flew straight for Subaru, piercing directly into the field, and then lost all momentum the moment it crossed the boundary. What had been moving faster than a bullet was suddenly harmless, reduced to a strange white projectile that barely held shape. With a flick of his sword, Julius knocked it aside, and it scattered across the sand.
A needle?
Something like that. No, more than that. Subaru, this magic!
Whoa, 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 whoa! Look, I've got a million things I could explain, but we need to move! Get on the damn carriage! We're pulling out now! This thing doesn't last long!
Understood. Let's hurry!
Julius, recognizing the urgency in Subaru's voice, pushed aside his doubts and leapt onto the dragon carriage. Grabbing the reins without hesitation, he turned the carriage's head back towards the swirling sands of Sandtime. Charging the tower now would be suicide. They had to believe this was the right call.
Let's go! Don't get too far from me! Stay within the light!
Subaru! Wow! Even though there's so many lights being fired.
Clinging to the roof of the speeding carriage, Emilia stared at Subaru in awe. Apparently, even though the enemy's attacks weren't working, they were still firing at him nonstop. But no matter how many times those beams came, the moment they entered EMT's field, they lost all their power, falling harmlessly to the sand, neutralized completely.
At any rate, it is a terrific power. Is this your and Beatrice Sama's trump card of some sort?
One of the trump cards! I'm not gonna spoil it. But for now, our priority should probably be getting away from the watchtower. No! Definitely!
Believe it's an application of yin magic, invalidating the effects of mana within range? If that's the case, it's a natural enemy of mages. No, you are a formidable opponent for anyone who uses mana to aid their skills.
I would say, it only seems to give a relative advantage. It doesn't make me stronger. I'll still lose in a fair fight against a strong guy. This is the ability that I developed thinking of when I will give a Rozchi a black eye.
Julius' admiration seemed completely genuine, and Subaru couldn't help but feel a little pleased with himself. Of course, some of that was just the relief of having dodged the tower's attack. But whatever the reason, it was still complacency. And really, by this point, the consequences of that complacency were already inevitable. Even Subaru couldn't have seen it coming.
Subaru, are we going back to the dunes in front of the flower meadow like this?
For just a short time, but yeah! We need to polish and refine our countermeasures anyhow!
He was mid-sentence, racing back towards a swirling sandstorm of Sandtime. The moment EMT's field brushed against it, the world tore open.
Huh?
Oh no, I suppose!
Beatrice jolted upright, shaken from the relief she'd only just begun to let herself feel. Her eyes locked on the view ahead, on the sand dunes splitting open beneath the night sky, and her voice trembled.
The distortion of space is invalidated by EMT. In fact, it's like you said, I suppose. The distortion here is similar to Betty's door crossing in that house. In other words, the distorted space will return to its original state.
What does that mean?
He didn't finish the question. All he felt was Beatrice clinging to him tightly. And then, just like that, the world split open, torn like paper, and began to unravel. Subaru, Patricia, and Beatrice were swallowed by the rift. So were Emilia, Julius, and the dragon carriage.
Not good. Amelia!
Subaru!
They were flung into darkness. Gravity itself seemed to disappear. Subaru couldn't tell which way was up, or where the dragon carriage had gone. All he could hear was Emilia's voice growing distant in response to his scream.
This is...
But before he could even say bad, he was already gone, hurled out the other side of the ruptured sky.
The boundary between the flower field and the sand sea was crumpled and broken, and a small group was swallowed into the rupture. From far away, a figure watched and stirred within the tower. It stepped away from the window where it had been lingering, its feet pressing against the stone floor as it descended the spiral staircase. Slowly at first, but each step came faster, more urgent, more eager.
Found you.
The voice was hoarse, like it hadn't spoken a word in years. But the joy in its tone, that was unmistakable.
Found you!
Of that, there was no doubt. The
Hey,
end.
good job, everyone.
Oh, we did
Great
it!
chapter.
I gotta pee so bad.
Good luck, buddy.
Oh, it's so much nicer when the mic works like it's supposed to. Oh, you good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Aldi, I have a suspicion that mic switches happen to you a lot in these live reads because
Yes.
the change in this compared to like some of the stuff happening in Arc 2 is night and day. It sounds so good.
Okay, so yeah, basically Discord, little brat, but I've sorted it out now, so yay!
Woo!
Should go a lot smoother.
There was
now.
some weird stuff at the start of the read where like it would do the classic Discord play your what you said like later than it actually was said and then play it like sped up.
Oh,
But
that's
that
weird.
wore off after a bit.
That
I
wasn't
think
coming
the-
through on my side.
Neither.
Really?
Yeah, that may have been on your end.
I heard it on stream, which
Oh,
is why.
Oh, shit.
strange.
Oh.
Regardless, I think the beginning just needs a quick touch up, but otherwise this was great. I mean,
was
chapter 12
amazing.
is
Went so much
super
better.
fucking long, so good job everyone for sticking through it.
Yeah, that was a lot of voicing. My voice was getting hoarse by the end there.
Good job, everyone. That was amazing chapter.
I want to point out Rom's joke here because Gold was cracking up about it a lot. That when they first retreated and he's saying like, "Hey, we need to like, go back," and they're all complaining about him going back, and she's saying, "Your true nature cannot be changed. Always quick to finish." She's making a sex joke?
Yeah, she's saying that he's a quick finisher. Poor
Yeah.
guy.
One
I-
pump joke.
Because in response to Gold's way he manipulated that line, it just made it like so funny. I then kind of changed Subaru's line to reflect that a bit more and was like wounding pride and stuff like that. It just made it different.
I
Poor guy.
love her. I love all of her lines in these chapters. They're so funny.
She is
How would you
unironically
know, Ram?
one of the best parts of this arc.
Absolutely. I'm so happy she's here with us and not stuck back with Roswell this whole time.
Fucking mansion. God.
Subaru needs someone to ground him.
Yeah.
Well, he has so many
Yeah.
women who'd be sad if he dies, so.
Julius was
Yeah,
so
what?
connected with that, by the
Yeah,
way.
what do you
the hell?
mean,
That
Julius?
line was
Julius.
crazy.
Yeah, that's like what the fuck.
Why is he becoming the ultimate homie wingman right now? This is crazy.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
okay. I
He's
mean,
just trying to make sure
That's my boy!
nobody notices his love for Subaru.
Oh, I
Yeah.
took it as that he was like saving him for the purpose of other women, not for himself. It's like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, other people will be sad if he dies.
That's exactly
Unfortunately,
what
Why
Yeah.
not
yeah.
both?
Why not both?
why not both?
Indeed.
I'm,
Yeah, these chapters are really fun.
I'm just really. I think one of my favorite aspects of this arc is just some of the banter and dialogue, and it's just consistently great
yeah.
throughout the entire thing. So it's gonna be just so much fun. There's so many moments of either high emotion or really good comedy that are just gonna be so fun to act.
Mm-hmm. For
The
sure.
character chemistry. The character chemistry.
Oh,
I think it's like it's the best grouping that any of the
Yes.
arcs have of like which characters are
Yeah, for
where.
sure.
I think
I agree.
if Otto was here, is the only way to like really improve it.
mm-hmm. As like to have.
Although I feel like if
someone
Otto was here,
stuck
he'd get like he'd receive majority of the bagging from Ram, I think.
I think
Most
he would
likely.
also take more of the strategic role away from Subaru, which I guess the
Yeah.
whole point is it's supposed to show Subaru's strategic power in this arc, right?
True.
Yeah.
But like Otto's thing isn't necessarily strategy in battle like this, though.
That's fair.
It's like if there was a pause, then he'd have time to do the strategy stuff.
Not
But like
right
right now, it's a scramble.
Yeah. It's always all about the plans. Subaru's the one that has to come up with stuff on the fly.
Yeah.
Indeed. I like his new spells in this, EMM and EMT.
They're so
They're both
cool.
so cool.
Classic.
Also, like
Classic super
just
naming scheme.
kind of crazy implications for how he's going to be able to affect stuff going forward. Because whilst, again, it's not going to make him strong, it's going to make any opponent that's fighting against him have a miserable time if they're a magic user.
If they use
Yeah.
mana in any way, shape, or form.
That includes the flow technique, right?
Yep. And
Yep.
Reinhardt's sword skills.
Yep, that's true. Oh my god, he's actually kind of a counter to Reinhardt's sword skills.
Reinhardt counter?
I mean, it's Reinhardt's actual ability to use a sword would not be affected,
exactly,
but like
but I mean, like,
the
unfortunately.
giant blast waves he did against Elsa in Arc
Yeah,
1 would be
you wouldn't
taken
be
out.
nuked,
yeah.
you'd just be shish kebab to death instead.
Yeah, you just get stabbed to death. Oh, such a big difference. Ooh.
Well, Subaru has mentioned, like, even in the last chapter, that getting eviscerated and completely vaporized is worse for him because he doesn't know how to react to that.
Yeah.
True.
Also, it takes
So
time
he has to
for you
drag his
die
own
like
deaths
that.
out.
That extra second or two could be valuable, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's how he's able to solve, like, who's attacking the mansion was living, like, an extra 30 seconds back in Arc 4, too. It makes a difference.
Yeah. Man, I'm dying really slowly. Yeah. Wait, this is peak?
Wait, so it was you! You fucker!
Oh, he's just like, oh, this is agonizing, but okay. Okay, I can work with this. Better
I've
than
read some
nothing.
Agatha Christie novels, I know what's going on.
Ooh, I love a good cozy.
I've studied the reverse flash. I know your tricks.
Oh no.
It was me,
It was
Barry.
you, Thawne.
It was you.
He threw it back at him. It was you, Thawne. I know you did it at supersonic speed.
Supersonic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite videos on the internet, I always forget the title, is it's a play on that dynamic, but the reverse flash just minorly inconveniences Barry with his time powers.
It
and
was
just
me,
ends up-
Barry.
I was the one that
Yeah.
made. I
Solid JJ.
moved your milk in your fridge 2 weeks ahead, so now you have disgusting, out-of-date sour milk. How does it feel? That was me.
Out of-
And he's just like,
Barry. It was me, Barry. I filed all your tax reports 1 week late. And now your credit score is in the green.
Any deductibles?
well,
I need my deductibles.
my credit score was
I took
already
all
dog shit in the first place, so.
It was me, Barry. I took all the perishables from your fridge and replaced them with ones that had expiration dates 10 days in the future. Poor guy. Like,
Think the
you can't do
bad
anything.
therapy.
Yeah, this guy.
Oh, sorry.
If hater was
Bless
a
you.
person.
Thanks.
If
number
Twitter
one
was a
hater
person.
was a person.
I agree, Anas,
Twitter-
that I love you scene is adorable,
It's
especially
like
because he switches to English to specify it later, which our translations do it to switch to Japanese whenever he's speaking English.
I
Which is why he
like
says
that
Hairu.
you guys added that. I think that's really cute.
That's actually a Fanta change mostly.
Yeah, it was a really good
Oh.
job on his part.
Good job, Fanta.
It's just a great way to localize it.
Because, like, if you're reading it, like when I was doing Arc 2, I just bolded all the words that he said in English.
Yeah.
But for the most part, having it switched to Japanese gets the same effect across to us readers. Because if you're, someone like me and can know what he's saying, it's going to be the same
Yeah,
as
it's like,
Japanese reader knowing English. But if you don't, then you're like everyone else and have no idea what he's saying, and that's kind of also intentional. It makes it more
Yeah, to me-
clear when like Priscilla does it, because if she
Yeah.
gets something from Al, then it's important to note that she's saying something in English, or Puck when he's saying stuff that he shouldn't be able to know.
Otherwise, it just comes off as weird. Like, I love you, Betty. What does that mean?
What?
I love you.
It's really
I
interesting.
love you.
the English loanwords being a thing for that shows that you're an isekai person in a world filled with the Japanese language. It's just so interesting. It's like a really fun world building thing.
Come on, why
It
can't Al
is.
be speaking in French?
Oui, oui.
Oui, oui.
I hope you realize if
monsieur.
if British Subaru hears oui, oui. My name is Aldebaran. He's gonna
My
run in the opposite direction.
L'Etoile.
My name is Aldebaran.
No, he wouldn't. He would turn and look at them and say, "Is that an actual French maid?" And then get disappointed.
But I need help with this one. I can do it. I can do it. I can pronounce it. Where's French?
Which one?
What?
Which one?
Well, hold up. I got you. Your stars.
Oh my god.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Tais-toi et ton passé.
Oh no.
Why does Al have a
Leaked
beret over
Al?
his helmet? It's so weird.
His helmet just so you can't see the pencil thin mustache that curls up on his cheeks.
Je ne comprends
Yeah.
pas.
You see tiny bristles of hair coming out the holes in his helmet.
But they are immaculately
Oh.
Yeah,
black.
they're twirled. They're
I said
they're
it
high
wrong.
class.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know how much wax it takes to curl a mustache? It's not a pleasant experience to do.
I'd imagine.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But
Those,
it would be
those
funny
World
for
War
one
I
to have
army
it
generals,
not
they
be
had a
English.
tough time.
Oh, well, that's why they had stewards that dressed them. They didn't do it.
Wow.
Lazy
Mhm.
asses.
Lazy asses.
It's
Yeah,
like the
pretty much.
shoe shiners, dude.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yo,
I,
here's like $20. Shine my shoe.
I do want to almost pat ourselves on the back here, Wolf, as well, because when I first read these two chapters, it was not clear what all was happening and when.
Mm-hmm.
And this has made it so much more understanding that they went around all the bears. Like, that was the plan.
We did a very good job of fixing them up for the readings, I would definitely say.
Simply go around the bears. They can't
Yeah.
maul you to
Just
death
go
without your
around.
consent.
Yeah.
We can't go
There's not
under
infinity.
Them. We can't go
There's
over
not
them.
infinite bears.
We
Yeah,
can't
can't
through
go
them.
over it.
So
The
we
thing
have
is
to
that-
go around
yeah.
them.
Have you tried around?
We have to go around it.
Do you
I
see a
also-
way around the bears? Yell if you
No.
see a way around the bears.
No!
Have all of you realized that that was the first isekai we all watched?
Oh.
Dora the Explorer
again?
takes place in a video game. She's in a computer
Oh,
from the
man.
start.
Oh, no.
She has a backpack with
Yeah.
infinite inventory, a town map, but she leaves when she goes to talk to her mom and dad in the Christmas specials. So it is an isekai.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Is she
Ah,
OP?
so
The indoctrination
Dora.
begins that early.
Yep.
Pandora beat Reinhardt?
Pandora, Dora. Oh my god.
Hey, viewers, do you see a way to beat Reinhardt?
You do.
Reinhardt, no fighting.
How can we
Reinhardt,
beat
no.
Reinhardt?
Oh,
Yell
look!
real
it's his
loud when you
mom.
see it.
Let's pick her up and use her as a body shield.
Say Maroc.
Oh, no.
Maroc.
Do we have
Can
something in
you
our
take
bag
away
that
his
can
divine
help us?
protection?
Stop, Japan's gonna get ideas.
The Dora Isekai show. Oh.
That we
I mean,
all
there's,
Oh my
if
want.
God.
there's a. Oh my god, there was a. Didn't they do an isekai about from the author, the point of view of the author of No Longer Human or something?
Oh god.
Which
No
is
idea.
a really depressing book about a real life person.
Oh, I have it. I have that book.
Oh my
and
gosh.
apparently they did an isekai with him as the main character, and when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god!" I know Japan is big about respect, but like this is disrespectful. Holy shit!
Oh no.
Reincarnated in another world, but I get to ask my viewers for help.
Hey, yo,
Well,
Wait,
chat!
that's just Twitch chat. Chat.
At what
Chat.
point? I mean,
Oh, geez,
honestly,
those
that would
middle
be
schoolers were right all along. Don't tell me that.
pretty crazy as a story. Someone who can see the chat of the live stream of the game that he's been pulled into
I mean,
and can use
honestly,
that to
that'd
cheat.
that'd
Chat, how do I
quite
beat Reinhardt?
entertaining,
Chat.
right? Like he has to
Like,
get
chat,
as many
do a quick
viewers as
Google.
possible, get as much donations to be able to fund his expedition.
Or even then, just being
Yeah.
able to ask,
How
okay,
do you-
I have no
do
idea
you
what's
run
up
the
ahead.
competition?
What element do I need to bring into this boss that I'm about to have to go fight? And it
Oh,
has to
sorry,
trust
that's
whether
a new
chat's
game
telling him the
pass.
truth or not.
Chat's not trolling. Chat, please don't be trolling, chat.
Or he's trying to stealth through somewhere and someone does like a bit donation and it plays the alert.
Oh my god.
Thank
There's
you
a-
for the
It uses the
prize.
AI voice too, like the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the text
If-
speech.
If no one has seen the D&D channel Legends of Evantris, they have a short where one of the
Oh, that's
characters gets
amazing.
possessed
Oh, yeah.
and is able
Oh,
to see the
yeah.
fourth wall.
Yeah, it's so good.
Well, that
That's
sounds
great.
like fun.
Just like looks at the screen. It's like Frosty was everyone's least favorite character. I'm just responding to chat on our channel, and a raid is here.
We're getting raided.
It's very fun.
Chat, this is a
Great
stealth
channel.
section. Shut up.
It'd be even funny if they're like, oh yeah, use the iframes, and he's like, I don't have iframes in my version.
Yeah, I don't want to get hit, dog.
I have a
can't
perfect
do the Dark
hitbox!
Souls roll. I have a permanent hitbox.
Dog, that was last patch.
They nerfed it since then. I can't do that anymore.
I can't even level up. What is it? Adaptability from DS2 or whatever. To
Oh my
get
God.
more iframes.
Oh jeez, yeah.
Chat,
He needs the ninja ring.
What's
that
the secret
turns you
to Regulus'
into
authority?
mist.
chat,
I mean, that's
does
kind of
anyone
what
know
Super's
Star-Lord?
ability here is with EMT is giving himself iframes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Infinite iframes,
I don't know
though.
why I
Or
was
EMM?
imagining it like this, but
EMM.
I was imagining it as like a rhythm game. Each time he was getting hit by a magic attack, he just has to hit the right the right
Perfect
direction.
parrying.
It's just it's a mix of DDR and Guitar Hero.
Mhm.
Oh god. Guys, I don't know what constellations are. Guys, what's a Roy Alfred? Chat, I need help.
Can you, it'd be so
Just
funny.
respond.
Get
It's a
the older
snake.
sister and weird aunt who are really into astrology in here. I need help.
Astrology.
Chat, why are you just telling me that onions fly in Australia? That's not helpful.
All right, we're going a little insane from
Go kooky.
exhaustion from these
Yeah.
chapters. It might be
Absolute
time to
delirium.
call the reading.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, everyone who donated. We are 75% of the way to creating Lustiff. So
I have not believed it was possible until now. Now I think there's a
Same.
genuine chance it's gonna happen.
Why is there sweat rolling down my forehead right now?
I can't wait to do
That's
the
not sweat.
audio. This will be the
No,
best
no, you
version
can.
ever.
You can wait. But the men, now the men in the Lost Tip is where we're
Men.
talking.
Ayo.
That's
Here
next
we
year,
are.
maybe.
All
That's
right,
the next
everybody.
stretch goal.
Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.